everybody, welcome to this week's Down the Rabbit Hole. This week's quilt is called The Seasons. It's another quilt from Material Obsession 2, and it is another quilt that has a terrific story to it. It also has a paper and a PDF pattern. It has some templates, and we'll discuss all of that as we go through the quilt. So the story behind this quilt was that it was made in 2007 for Material Obsession 2, and in 2007 we had Kay Fassett and Brandon Mabley come and stay with us. They were touring Australia as part of their classes, as they do, and they came to teach at Material Obsession. We had a wonderful class with them. And Kay and Brandon stayed at my father's house at the beach. We had them come down. I cooked for them. It was really good fun. We had big walks on the beach. We had a terrific trip. And as they were leaving, Kay said, "I have this piece of fabric in my bag. And it's one of my fabrics, and it's the fabric that doesn't sell. This is the colorway that no one wants to use. And I challenge you to use the fabric." And you brought it out, and it's this purple fabric here. And Kathy and I were just like, why would nobody use that fabric? We love it. That's a fabulous fabric. We love the purple, we love the print. He said, oh, no, it's not the print. It's that particular colorway of that fabric just is the one that doesn't sell. So I challenge you to use this fabric. So we decided that would be one of the pairs of quilts in the book, because that's how the book works. If you haven't watched the rest of the Rabbit Hole series on this particular book, in each chapter there are two quilts. Kathy made one, I made the other, and they both started from the same idea and went off in different directions. So for this chapter, that was where we started, with that fabric, Kate's Challenge fabric. And so I decided that I actually already had the fabric in this colorway, which is one of my favorite fabrics. That needs to be clipped, ignore that. I see what's happened. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I love this fabric. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I've used it for backgrounds for a few things. And one of the reasons that I really love it, it has this little tiny sort of slightly pinkish tinge to some of the flowers. Can you see that little tiny bit of pink in there? It's absolutely beautiful. I just love that little blush. So I had that already, and I thought, well, I'll use both of them, two different colours of it, and maybe I'll use one of the others. And I started playing with some ideas about what I might do. And it occurred to me that this fabric looked like the winter of this fabric. It looked like this was the colour leaching out of this fabric. And that led me to the idea of seasons. So I started playing with different ideas, plays on seasons, and I had different blocks that sort of faded out of each other. I had a bunch of different ideas, and then I decided that I really did actually want it to be quite blatant that it was going to be seasons. And so this is where I've ended up. So each of the blocks in the quilt is a different season. This is summer, because the tree is full, and I've used that challenge fabric in every single block just to kind of bring it all in a little bit. The tree trunk is needle turn appliqued, and I've used a lot of different texture fabrics for the backgrounds, and I've also added quite a few things to the blocks to just give it a little bit of it. I mean, it's a novelty quilt, this one. It's a hang on the wall. It's too small to go on anybody's bed. It's a display quilt, essentially. So I didn't mind that I was adding things to it. So this background here's a seersucker. It's a Japanese seersucker, so it's got quite a lot of texture to it. And to me, that looked like summer, that sort of bubbly, puffy, fun-looking situation. And then I have some beads embellishing the centre of the flowers in different ways, and I use rickrack for the stems on the flowers. So that was the summer. All of the leaves in each of the tree tops are made using wedge ruler, which is one of the templates that is included in the little template set if you wanted to buy it for this quilt. It means that you can strip piece and then rotary cut those pieces out for each of the months. So that's summer. Then we have autumn or fall. I've gone for a much, obviously, lusher colour palette in here, and all of the leaves are starting to turn. You can see all the reds and what have you, and a couple of little greens left, and there's our challenge fabric again. A little bit more of it this time because it's getting cold. That was my theory. Then I have for the background this beautiful Japanese silk mix, and it was something that someone gave me a packet of kimono fabrics, and it was in there, and I just loved the colours. I loved the idea that the colours were sort of autumny and coming out of the other Japanese fabric into the slightly more dull one. And then the little leaves are starting to fall off the trees here. And then I have this beautiful Cafe lotus leaf down the bottom here. The texture of that to me was just like beautifully autumn. And the trunk of the tree is a slightly different colour. So we've gone from like a really, verdant sort of spot over here for the trunk to a much darker and more tonal trunk. And then we go down here to winter. So here's our winter trunk. The tree is completely bare, so there's no wedge ruler required for this one, obviously. The challenge fabric is the ground, and I quilted it quite densely because I wanted it to sort of look like the hard frozen ground. And then I've used all of these little glass raindrops that I found somewhere along the way, and I've put them onto the branches. I've sort of quilted little branch bits out, and the bits of ice are hanging from the ends of the branches, and that's what that little bit is up there that I was talking about that needed clipped. I've obviously lost one of those along the way. It's 21 years later, this quilt has finally lost one of its little pieces. I'll have to see if I have another one in my stash to sew it back on. I do tend to hang on to things like that. I've probably got one somewhere. Then we come over to spring, and all of the leaves are starting to come back onto the trees, but it's not completely full. So I've left holes in between. And then here's the little blossoms that are starting to break out on the tree where everything's coming. And I have a little nest. A little nest with the eggs, and the birdies are flying in and out to feed their babies. And it's a much more springy trunk. And obviously the backgrounds, I've got that beautiful, bright, sparkly green down there and the more springy background to make it look like that, and a little birdie down the bottom and pulling a worm. I went to town on this one. It was a bit of fun. So then when I was putting it together, I had all of these blocks, and I decided I'd like to extend the metaphor of those wedges. So I have this tumbling block little border in between that has that challenge fabric and all of the different trunks, the fabrics from all of the different trunks. And that is the other template that's in the little set. So one will do the big long leaves, and one will do this little template. You can't actually get this out of the same, it's not the same angle. So you do need the two different templates in that set. That's why they're both there. So this is not a huge quilt. It only finishes quite small. I suppose if you really wanted to extend the metaphor, you could make a whole quilt of blocks, different trees all over, and just have all sorts of different trees. It wouldn't have to be the seasons. And then you could make a bed quilt. If you did, say, 4 blocks down by 3 across, you'd probably get like a single bed quilt, to give you an idea. So maybe 4 by 4 might make a queen or a double. That's kind of the size that they are. But you could quite easily do that and just have all sorts of different coloured trees all over it and make a bigger bed quilt if that was what you were wanting to do. But it's very good fun. It doesn't take a huge amount of time. You could quite easily either needle turn, as I've done, or machine applique those trunks on. They don't all have to be hand appliqued. They could easily be machine appliqued. It's a bit of machine piecing. It's a bit of applique. It's a bit of embellishment. It's a bit of everything. It's a bit of fun. It's the seasons. If you choose to make it, please show me, because I'd love to see. Pattern, as always, is available from sarahfilke.com in paper and in PDF, and also the template set. Have fun, guys. See you next week.